5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour.
Welcome aboard. I'm your host Star, and this is Interstellar Introspections. Hi guys. Welcome to the show. I forgot how I started the freaking thing because my intro says welcome aboard. So I don't want to say that again. Okay,
I'm so
okay, wait.
fucking confused right now.
Okay,
We've
wait.
all listened.
No, okay, wait.
Hello, welcome to the show.
Hi guys. I hope you're doing okay. You know what? We're just gonna roll with it. Okay, so just to give you guys an explanation on why this intro is such a mess, it's because we are slowly pulling back on recording because we are, one, busy, but two, we have gone past our pre-recording era. You know, we're not worried about pre-recording episodes. The podcast has already been launched. We have a good amount of episodes to last us a while. So we want to start getting into relevant content in context with the episodes being released. So there's no rush in pre-recording episodes, but we do have a few topics that like we want to talk about. You know what I mean? That can be pre-recorded. Anyway, I'm really jumping ahead of myself. Hi guys. I hope you're all doing well this week.
Damn.
Today we have a special guest. It's Selin again, but you guys already knew that because if you listened to last week's episode, you knew that she was coming. Selin, how are you?
Start over. I'm doing great. I'm doing pretty good. It's been a busy week and we're here. We're back today. How's it going? What's up? How are you?
I'm vibing out, you know what I mean? It's a very chill episode today. We're talking, basically today's episode is taken over by a Twilight topic. So it's a very different type of vibe that's going on, not as, you know, like sciencey, more like, ooh, pop culture. So that's going to be a fun little thing for Selin. Selin loves that. I love it too. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm very cold right now. So if you hear me like shivering, that's why. We are doing the Zoom format today. I honestly think it's a better audio quality, so I really don't mind it. And it also allows us to record whenever. Like we don't really need to like organize it too much. Like it obviously organizing things helps, but it was pretty sporadic this episode recording. So rolling right into kind of the episode. How was last week for you? What did you do last week? Let's catch up with each other.
Last week, since we last spoke, just did a couple things for school. What else? That's pretty much it. I just had some classes and then I went away this past week. I already forgot what I did. I went away. I went skiing. That was an experience. It was freezing. And when you go away and you're like, oh, like it's a vacation because you're not home, but like you're away. Like when I go skiing, I don't think of it as a vacation or like anything in the cold is not a vacation. Like I was miserable. So, like everyone I was with, they were like, oh, like we're going away on vacation. Like I don't want to do anything. I'm like, this is not a vacation. Like we're just going to another house. It's freezing. I don't have time. No. Anyways.
Were you in upstate New York?
No, we went to I did that last time. I didn't like upstate. Personally, I felt like it was like too cold there. It was even colder there. I was not about it. We went to PA.
Oh, okay.
The Poconos area.
Oh, okay.
It was nice. It was really nice. We were there. I felt like very short. It goes by so fast.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a weekend too.
It was, and it was the busiest weekend to go and do these festivities in this area. We waited on a line to get up on the lift. It was like 30-40 minutes, and it was like we go down the mountain in like 5 minutes. Like it was just like, oh my god, if anyone listening does skiing or snowboarding, please let us know how you feel about that, waiting on those lift lines, because I literally wanted to kill myself. I could barely feel my feet and I was standing on snow. Where's the logic? Anyways, how about you? How was your week?
I've never been skiing, but I see, I want to go because I want those like photogenic moments of like, I guess you don't look photogenic while like hurling your body down like a 20,000-foot mountain, but there are cute moments. I just am too scared. Like I'm very clumsy. Like one little like twist one wrong way and your whole body goes rolling down and you could die. It's like very scary for
Okay,
me.
you're okay. Wait a second. That's too dramatic. You are wearing a helmet. But I actually went with
Okay.
somebody that I doesn't know how to ski. Everyone else knew how to ski, snowboard, whatever. But one of the people that I was with didn't know. So it was really fun trying to watch them learn because you do fall, and it's kind of funny because like when you're on skis, if you try to drop your body, you'll just keep going because
Oh my
you're on
goodness.
skis. So if you try
Yeah.
to hit your ass on your butt on the floor, it doesn't work.
Hmm.
You'll just keep going until you tumble eventually. But it's a great learning. I'm gonna teach you how to ski. That's on my bucket list. Or
Okay.
snowboard.
I'm down. I'm down. In
I think
like
it's an
a controlled
experience.
environment.
100%. The bunny hill is where we'll do that for the first day. But it
Bunny
has to be
hops.
nothing. And maybe we'll put you in ski school. We'll see how it goes.
I'm dead. She said your first day of school, you pack a lunch.
Exactly. They give you a little they give you, oh my God, the kids today, when I went, they had like these little fanny packs, like emergency fanny packs. I
I'm
almost peed.
dead. That's
I
me.
literally almost started crying.
Deceased.
Amazing.
But I mean, my week was pretty uneventful. What did I do last week? Nothing. Oh no, actually, this weekend, I was with my baby cousin a lot this weekend. I
Oh,
recently
I
had a
saw.
For those of you that don't know, I had a baby cousin recently introduced in my family. She just calls me Theo, even though I'm not like biologically her uncle. We're more like second cousins, but family's family at the end of the day.
100%.
But yeah, so I spent a lot of time with her because I forgot, I think Thursday, Friday, and Saturday I was with her because her mom, my cousin, needed help with something on Thursday, and then she came over Friday, and then Saturday the baby just came over for like because there was an event going on at her house. But yeah, I just really spent time with her. I went to church for the first time in a long time Sunday. And that was, I know,
Whoa.
I know this is, you probably didn't expect me to bring up this
Wait.
topic. Yeah. I don't
What?
know. Yeah. I don't really want to talk about my belief and stuff like that because that's a conversation for a different episode because we could really get into that. Both me and Selin we have a lot of experience in religion, and not, I mean, I'm not trying to say we're like freaking know-it-alls. I'm saying we have a lot of experience
Friend.
in the
Yeah.
religions that,
Experience. Yeah.
yeah. I've been a part of like 3 different religious groups my whole life and I'm only 19. Like I've seen a lot. But anyway, I'm trying to say that I am a
Well,
religious. What?
wow. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm very surprised. And
No, well,
I would love for you to kind of also talk about that a little bit. Like, how was it? You said you haven't gone in a while and you just went?
so I this is like such a deep conversation because I really don't want to get into it because it's like a really deep conversation. I'll like skid over the top of it. Basically, to me, like religion is like a very like complex thing. To call myself religious is like a very like, I use that term very loosely, but to me it also has a really deep meaning. So I would more say that what I would say, and that's probably people see my lifestyle and they wouldn't agree with this way, but this is what I believe with my heart. Like I believe, I don't want to sound like preachy, but I believe I'm saved by the blood of Jesus Christ and that he is real and that we all, go to heaven or like down there, but that is my belief. And that's what I've believed my whole life. Like, not my whole life because I've grown to believe that. But even when I wasn't going to church, I believed that. Even when I don't announce that I believe that, I believe
Yeah.
that. I feel like
Yeah.
that's like, a lot of people are always like, oh, like your relationship with God is like your personal thing, and like make it that, like I live up to that statement very much. Like I don't really make it announced, and I know that like according to like Christianity you're supposed to like, like show it around and like promote it and stuff like that to like grow the community. But I really feel like my relationship with God is like really personal to me, and I'm very satisfied in my relationship with God. And I say all that to say, not go on like a religious tangent, but just to say like something was telling me just to go. I've had more free time lately. Before I didn't really have a lot of free time, so the days that I was off on Sundays, which was very rare. I work in retail most of my life, so I didn't have off Sundays
Yeah.
often. But the fact that I've been off on Sundays more often, and other days I haven't really wanted to use those Sundays for resting. So I was like, oh, I might as well go. And it was an experience. Like my family goes to this church called Hillsong. It's like a pretty popular church. But it's a very, like, there are so many different types of Christian churches. This is very lively. It's kind of more like a
Okay.
concert.
Oh,
Um,
I
I
love that.
don't, I mean, well, I have a lot of social anxiety. So it was a very, and I've been to that before, and it was actually smaller than usual because, COVID and stuff like that than what it used to be. But it was an experience. And honestly, like I said, I really don't want to talk about this too long because it's a whole other conversation. But to kind of end it here, a lot of the things they were talking about really made me think about the conversations me and you have, because obviously they're
Oh,
relating it to
wow.
God and religion. But like the main basis of their conversation on Sunday was like their whole thing this year is like starting a new life, like starting a new thing, like reinventing yourself basically, but in the form of like God and like religious beliefs. And I was like, wow, like me and Selin literally, I'm pretty sure we've talked about that, if not on the podcast, just in person, like always trying to grow ourselves and be and better ourselves in terms of just being a good human being. You know what I mean? Not even on the
100%.
basis of religion, but just as being a good person in general. So I thought that was interesting because I don't know. I'm weird. I like to look at those conversations in two different fields. I like to look at it in a religious perspective, obviously, because that's how they were talking about it. But I also like to remove the religious aspect away from it and just look at it as like, hey, like, be a good person. Like, if you don't believe in what I believe, that's fine. But like, still grow as a human being. You know what I mean?
I 100% agree. I mean, especially with the part of, obviously, you don't always have to agree with what, someone else thinks, but as long as they're bettering themselves
Mm-hmm.
with whatever they believe in, I feel like there's not really much an argument there. But I'm so glad, like, I'm like kind of happy for you. Like, that sounds great. Like, I don't know, I wasn't expecting you to say that, but I'm also like, wow, like, that's awesome. Like, I don't know why, but I'm kind of obsessed with that a little bit.
I'm dead. I
No,
mean,
I'm
that's
being serious.
what makes you feel that way. That's so interesting that you're saying this.
I don't know. It's just because I don't have, so like I don't in my experience like I don't go to church.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not because I am like I don't like my religion doesn't have, it's not a church, it's technically a mosque, and
Well, yeah,
it's
say what you so
well
I
I'm a
didn't.
okay, let's rewind. So I am Muslim. So I don't go to church. I don't have I mean, we have places like churches, they're called mosques, and it's the same idea, but it's like not at the same time. Like, it's for a woman to go. It's so, and if I go, I would physically have to like pray. So like, you know, it's I can't explain it because it's so different. Our religions are very different. In the same
Yeah.
way, they're the same but very different. So like my praying consists of like facing towards the sun, and then you get down, you get up, and then you pray and you say these like verses and stuff like that. And it's actually beautiful. I love listening to prayers because it's like almost like a song. So like I can really appreciate that. So like you're saying like it was more lively and like almost like a concert, right? Like that's just to me like very nice. Like I used to love listening to our like hojas, they're called hojas, and they're like what you would call like a priest or what do they call those people?
A preacher?
A
Pastor?
preacher?
Pastor?
Pastor. One of
It's
those.
they use all the
I,
different
they use
names.
it's like the whole all of those mean the same thing, right? I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I personally like listening to like the preachers and like I think it's like a moment that I feel like I'm connected, and it's like very like it kind of like makes you like feel like you're part of something. I don't know. It's like weird. I'm not very religious, but I can appreciate those moments that I have. So I really think it was cool that you were like excited to go to church and that you hadn't been in a while and it was like a good experience for you. That's all I'm trying to say. Basically, I
No, I appreciate that aspect of how you're looking at it. And I think that it's weird because it's like I wasn't excited. It was just like, not that the reality of it is I think I was just curious on how it would affect me. I haven't been in a few years, and like I said, I keep saying this because I don't want to keep going, but like it's important to the story. Like people are going to be like, oh, so you're like a Christian. It's like, no, it's a little bit more complicated. And I know like a lot of Christians aren't going to agree with me on this. Like people, like I've said this before, and I said it to my aunt, who is she's a Southern Baptist Christian, and then those are very, very, and that's what I was. So I used to be Catholic, then I went to Southern Baptism, and now I'm at like and then like I was also Christian, like just like I guess a general Christian, like somewhere in the middle of that. And now I'm just like me, like I have my own personal definition because I have my own personal relationship with God. But I do believe in what I stated earlier about being saved and all that. Because when I was saved, which is like, I don't know if you guys have something similar to that in Muslim religion, but with Christianity, or like, I guess it's so hard because I was saved with the Baptist religion, like in that culture or in that belief system, but now I'm like practicing something. It's very complicated. What I'm trying to say is I left the like practicing part of the religion completely because I was going to a church that was very like racist and also like homophobic, which I was talking about my sexuality in last episode. It's not that, it has nothing to do with like what my sexuality is or like what my gender is. It's just the fact that like nobody should be rude to like anybody. Like I don't know, like a lot of hypocrisy was mixed in with the religion too, and that like really irritates me. But that's why I like stepped away from it. And again, once again, I will like allude and like talk about that more in a future episode, but I stepped away from it because of that. And I was like, why am I going to weaken my thoughts about God and the love he has for me with all of these negative people practicing and preaching his word, when I should just like practice on my own and do my own thing, because that is what will strengthen my love in God more. If I'm listening to these racist and homophobic and xenophobic people preach the word of God, it's going to leave a nasty taste in my mouth about God. It's going to make me really dislike it.
Which isn't,
why would I do that to myself? Why wouldn't I just live on my own and pray on my own? I pray every night and have my own kind of time with God and really talk to him and get to know him and teach me more throughout life lessons. Like, why wouldn't I live that way? So that's the way I think about it. But like I said, I can go a lot more in depth, and I want to in a future episode, just because I can already see how many things I probably said wrong, and I apologize for that. But like I said, in the first episode, this is a learning experience for all of us. And that's why a future episode is needed for religion, because it's such a deep topic. And this was like such a random tangent that we went on.
Yeah, well, we were talking about our weeks, and that's something you did. And I'll end off by saying that is amazing, and I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Now, I mentioned this. Okay, so I'm getting a little confused. This episode we're recording after another episode we already recorded, and it's going to go out in that pattern too. So about 2 episodes ago, when it was just me, I had mentioned that I wanted to talk about something, but only with Selin, and that is what we are talking about today. And it's been a long time coming, and for you guys, it's a really long time coming listening. But before we get into the topic, I wanted to make a disclaimer. This is for me. I don't know if Selin wants to make her own disclaimer, because I don't want to speak on anyone else's like viewpoint.
I'll just agree and say my disclaimer is what you are going to say next. So this is it'll come from both of us.
Okay. So we don't want to critique someone's parenting, as we're not parents. However, this is pop culture, and we do discuss some moments in pop culture to try and relate to it and bring it back to like our lives and what we have experienced. So while we will be giving our opinions on the situation at hand, we would never expect or recommend someone to really do something we say, as we aren't in their position. There's so many things that go on in people's lives that we don't know the full story about. So like I said, we're really just kind of talking about it, even if we're just like nonchalantly saying like, oh, I think they should do this. We don't actually like mean it. We're just like talking to each other. Everyone
is allowed to have their own opinions. So
Exactly. Do you want to kind of take us into the next segment? We do have some cosmic candids.
So again, I don't know if everyone remembers, but a cosmic candid is basically kind of what we like to call an icebreaker, right, Lewis? Something that we like to just kind of ask, get us warmed up for, the main topic that we'll be talking about, but like not really directly about the main topic. So I will say that these questions are going to be a little bit geared towards relationships. So, oh gosh.
No, we could get a lot
Ah,
deeper about our relationships
oh
and personal
gosh.
experiences and everything. But I think it's funny.
I
Okay,
kind of
so
had to pause there.
just so you guys know, so me and Selin write up notes and we share it with each other. So the reason why she's saying, oh gosh, is because she's reading the questions that are about to come up.
I know, I kind of skipped ahead and I was like, oh, wait a damn minute.
So like we're just gonna glaze over these questions. We can go so much more in depth, and that is another episode in the future. But because this episode is related to relationships, we had to dig deep in ourselves, Selin. We had to dig
I know.
deep in ourselves. So that brings the first question. What's your own relationship history?
I hate you. Okay, so in a quick little sum up, I'm not in a relationship right now. I am single. But I've been in a relationship before. I was in a relationship with someone from the age of 17 to about the age of 21. So my relationship actually ended this time around last year. We dated for I think almost it was 3 years, but it would have been 4 years and a couple months. So three and a half years basically. Um, and it was very different than what you would think a not I don't want to say a normal relationship, but like a standard today, like, relationship that people think of. That's not the relationship that I was in. Um, so basically it was a learning experience for me as well. It definitely wasn't what I expected going into it. And I know I'm like being very vague, but I don't know how comfortable I feel about, kind of talking about this person's experience as well. But they were a part of my relationship. So obviously, because I couldn't be in a relationship with myself. So, obviously we were in a relationship. But I know I'm being so vague, but I don't
It's
know
okay.
how.
Yeah. I mean, like at the end of the day, like I said, in a future episode, we'll like dive more
Maybe
into
we'll
them.
we'll dig deeper, but
Yeah.
basically it was not, I don't want to say crazy. Like when I think about that relationship, I just think about a lot of the things that it taught me. And most of the time of that relationship, well, towards the end, mostly like the last year, I personally was not in a good place mentally either. So I definitely felt that I needed to get out. And it wasn't that person's fault completely, but like I said, I learned so much and I feel like I became stronger coming out of it. So that's how I would explain that vaguely. But yeah, how about you? Any
So the reality of my situation is technically, and I use the word technically almost literally, I've never been in a relationship because almost every single person that I've had relations with never formally asked me out. So I've never really been anyone's like partner or involved in any type of situation ever.
Yes.
And
Okay.
I wear that very proudly because I am one of those people. You can call me a prude if you want to. Okay. But I'm not gonna waste my time with somebody that I say this now, watch me hoeing it up next year. I'm not gonna waste my
Goodbye and
time.
good night.
I'm not gonna waste my time with somebody that isn't gonna take me seriously enough to build something with. Because then that literally is wasting time. Like, yes, you could learn experiences from it and everything. And I trust me, I have. I'm gonna glaze over the experience that I have had and learned from. But yeah, I'd rather just build and grow with somebody rather than having to build and grow with one person and then like cancel that out and build and grow. Like I could see the benefits of it, and everyone's like, oh, I regret not dating when I was younger because I didn't experience life to the fullest. And it's like, I feel like I am experiencing life. And I feel like I have a lot of insecurities and personal issues too that I need to work through before I start trying to share my love towards somebody else, when I can say that I don't know if I love myself 100% yet. And I know that's like a really bold statement, but I think we all have our own issues to work through. And I think I should work through mine first before I try and involve someone else into my life. Now, with all that being said, I did have two. I mean, I've had like little like situationships online and stuff like that, but like I said, it wasn't anything serious. But there were two main incidents that happened in my life that were like relationship-ish. The first one is on my YouTube channel. You guys can watch that. It's a story time. I'm not going to talk about that here, but basically the person, I messed up in multiple ways. You can call me a house, what is that called? A house wrecker to some extent. To some extent, but it was like middle school. It wasn't even in crazy, like middle school, high school, it was nothing crazy. And then, so I admit fault for that part, but they were also very manipulative and disgusting too. So there was like both of us to blame. And then recently I had something that was like a whole roller coaster ride, and I need to make a story time
Oh.
about that. But that was like, we still weren't in a relationship at all. It was just a really crazy amount of occurrences that occurred. But into the next question. What is your viewpoint on what you would consider a relationship? And by this question, I don't know, interpret it as you think I'm asking the question, because this question could really be interpreted in so many ways.
So wait, so what I consider a relationship?
Yeah, like what you consider like a real relationship, not like a fling or a one night stand. Like when you see these signs and you have gone through these passages, these whatever they're called, like passages of journey, journey of passage, whatever
Rites
it's
of
called.
rites of
Rites of
passages.
passage. Thank you.
Oh, passage,
And
yeah.
yeah, patches. What is that called? The cabbage patch, the cabbages kids.
Yo, don't even those scared. They scared me. Don't
I'm
talk about
dead.
that.
My sister had them and they smelled like freaking baby powder.
Oh my God, you just brought back a memory I forgot I had. Wow. Wait, we should do on one. I know I'm like skipping ahead. We should do Mandela effects on one of the episodes.
Oh no, I'm
Guys,
totally down. I'm totally
that
down.
would be like, we should do a segment where it's like trippy stuff, and I feel like that would be something we could definitely dive deep on. We should do, okay. That's so interesting.
Leave a
So
comment if you guys want to
interesting.
hear that.
Literally.
I would be down 100%. I forgot what we were saying. Oh, the Cabbage Patch Kids is the cabbage. Oh, the rites of passage. When you have seen someone go through these rites of passages, you know, hey, this is a real relationship.
Okay, so okay, can I ask a question? Is it before or after this person has asked you to be in a relationship, or you're like, you want the whole gist of what I think? Like, are we like what? Like, there's so many ways to answer this question.
Make it as simple as possible to answer the
Make it
question
as
because
simple
we
as
don't have a lot of
possible.
time.
Okay, so what I think a relationship is, so basically it would start off by somebody, you'd be in a talking stage, you'd get to know each other, and then at one point someone would ask that other person to be in a relationship. You need to have that conversation. You can't just be like, oh, we've been talking for a couple months, I just assume you're my boo thing, we're together. No, there needs to be a conversation. You need to be on the same page. And once you're there, a relationship should consist of like, obviously you'll know that person, but getting to know them even more on a vulnerable level, meeting the family, like sharing things with them that you don't really share with a lot of people, going on dates still. I think that's so important. Obviously also having like a physical connection as well as a mental connection, and getting, not getting gifts for each other, but like, showing affection. And some people do show affection by spending money. So, I mean, that's
Love
how I show
language.
affection. That's a love language that I have 100%. Um, I like to kind of not spoil, but I like to, be like, oh, I got you this because you said this once. And oh, that broke of yours, so I got you because I knew you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Like things in that nature for me, that's a relationship. Like you like, and trust is, you need to trust that person. Like there needs to be a lot of that going on. And obviously, like a lot of people, they date for marriage, but sometimes you're in a relationship where eventually you don't actually ever see yourself getting married to this person. So I don't associate marriage with relationships as much as other people do. I don't think that's like, oh my God, before I say yes to this person, can I see myself marrying them in the next year? Like, no, that's not gonna happen. To me, I feel like before I would even talk about marriage is I would need to be in that relationship for a while, and I would actually need to see myself marrying that person. That's how I
Now,
feel.
how
Not
do
everyone's
you,
this. Mhm.
I was just gonna say, how do you like the conversation might come up of like sex and like moving in with the person, even getting like a dog with the person or like a cat with the person, like big key moments in life.
Okay.
When would you allow that to happen to like create that relationship? Like those are like, and like even meeting the family, like those are key milestones that to me, and I'll go over what I think, but I want to finish on what you think. To me, that is like moments that like start defining a relationship, right? Would you agree, or would
100%.
you what would you say about those things that
So
I said?
I agree with the whole living with each other part, because I not a lot of people are think like this because they think very traditionally, but personally, even before marriage, I would need to move in with this person. 100, I would need to live with you before we got married. But to get to that stage of actually moving in with each other, it would probably have to be a little bit, and I would have to feel like I would be okay with living this person. Like I need to see them how they live without living with me. Like, do they cook? Do they clean? Do they help out around the house? Like, are we going to be, a team, or am I going to be doing everything? Because again, I'm a woman at the end of the day, and I know some men like to associate women with doing everything. Obviously, not everyone's experience is the same. You might have a different viewpoint on this, but personally, like I need to feel like we're doing everything together. So I would need to see that. I would, of course, move in with somebody, but again, I would need to like have that, like, I would have to have, I guess, trust, because that is something really big. And then after moving in, yeah, I would love to get a pet because that does bring people closer. Um, Stuff like that. I think you would really need to be like in a position with that person. Like you really need to trust that person because it's huge. Two names are going on the lease, like moving, like having, yeah, even renting an apartment. Like we're not talking about buying a house, but like renting an apartment or whatever it may be, like that is huge. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah.
That's what I think. I don't know. Like even in my past relationship, just to bring that up, like they would always talk about moving in, moving in, moving in. Like, and I would just sit there and be like, I don't know. I don't feel like I want to like live with you, or I don't have that feeling right now in that moment that we were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that to me is like a whole nother, that's like a whole level. Like, I don't know.
No, I completely agree. Like I almost agree with 100% everything you said. I think that a relationship is like based off of them simply asking, you know what I mean? I think the first step is like, I mean, obviously you can ask, not you, but like
Yeah.
anybody can ask, in my opinion,
Depending on the situation as well.
depending, what does that mean?
Well, like if he's, say that person is like looking for somewhere to live and they're like, hey, do you want to move in? If at that moment I don't feel like I want to live with that person, it's not happening. Even
Well,
though
no,
they're like,
and right now I'm just talking about like starting the relationship. Like I think that like
oh,
the
you're not
first,
talking about, okay, go
yeah,
ahead.
the first step I think that a relationship needs, one, is to just ask. Like obviously, like I'm sure like dating people, like just like multi-dating is what people call it sometimes, but I don't even consider it multi-dating. I just consider it dating. Like dating is just going out and like seeing people and meeting people and talking to people without formally calling it a relationship. I think when you formally call it a relationship, that's when they just ask, and you've built up that rapport with them. That's like, okay, we've talked, we've kind of we've linked on what we believe in, our values, our matchup. Like I think that's really important for me. I mentioned in one episode that I'm a sapiosexual. After looking up the definition of a sapiosexual, I realized that it is heavily sexual based. But I mentioned also in that episode that I really refer to it as just being aroused by mental, like processing things intelligently, like not just being stupid about life. But when I say aroused, I don't mean like sexually, even though that's what the definition says. I mean like just mentally stimulated, but that's neither here nor there. What I'm trying to say is, for me, you must mentally stimulate me in order for me to even consider you to be in a relationship, because how am I supposed to grow if you're just bringing me down mentally, emotionally, all this stuff, right? So that's like number one. And then like you said, like that is like the first step that leads into moving in, which I would consider myself more traditional, definitely feeling like not, at least not having sex with, I mean, this is just me, right? I've I don't want, but I have not had sex, right? And I believe that one should at least I would just tell my kids and be like, listen, I'm not going to control you and I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to let you know from my personal experience, waiting to have sex until you've at least established a healthy relationship with someone is important, because I feel like, physical touch and that sexual connection with someone is very strong. And even though a lot of people like to say that they don't get a connection from it, I personally feel like I would. And so that's why I put a strong boundary on myself. Like, hey, like, just wait until you found the right person. They don't need to be your marriage partner or whatever, but at least until you find the person that you believe in that moment of your life is like a relationship worthy person to give your body to, because some people don't believe in sex as like such a sacred act. But I really, truly 100% do. My body is like very sacred to me. I have so many issues with my personal view on my body that to show somebody my body completely naked is so like, it's like really, really like, I don't even know what the word is I'm trying to think of, but it's like very revealing to me. Like it's very like personal to me. So like the fact that I'm sharing that with you is very important to me. And so that's why I feel like it's really important to
Wow.
find the right person. I know, I think really weird. I'm very traditional in that aspect, but like also
Oh,
I'm not traditional.
wow.
I'm not traditional because I don't think that you need to move in with somebody after marriage. I think you should 100% move in with somebody before marriage. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
that helps you understand how they live, if you can live with them. And I think that, before you decide to get married, if you do want pets, you should get it before you get married, because pets are like having children to a lesser extent, obviously to some people, and a more extent to certain people. And so it really is like, for me, the like nail in the coffin, like, all right, we can take care of something together. We can cohabitate. Like I'm ready to legally, because remember, marriage is a legal binding contract at the end of the day that controls money and all that stuff. We are able to do this on our own. We are able to control our money on our own, cohabitate together on our own. We don't need some legal binding contract to kind of force us to do this. So why not just get married and make it fun? Don't make it so stressful. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. I feel like I talked more than you.
No, I definitely talked a lot about it.
But what do you
But
think? Bounce that off me. Tell me.
I mean, I didn't want to cut you off before, but like the whole like that your viewpoint on sex is very different than mine, and I feel like that's where we might, and what you think, that's you, it's your body, like you said. Oh, I just hiccups.
Mhm.
It's your body, like you said, and even having sex is a very like it's a very vulnerable time. Like you said, you're giving that other person all of you. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I used to think like that too. Um, I don't really think that way anymore because I kind of, have been in the single girl, like, talking, dating type situation, like getting to know people. And obviously, sex has come up. So it's like, I don't know, I felt that way, but I don't feel much as that way anymore.
Mhm.
But sometimes I'm like, am I doing too much? Like, it's such like like you said, you give so much to one person. I don't know. It's a really like kind of stresses me out. Like you can hear me, I'm getting low-key like nervous talking about
Don't
this.
get
No,
nervous. I
I'm
mean,
not.
obviously, I can
No,
wait.
not
Like,
nervous, but it's a very like it's a sensitive topic, not just for me, but I feel like for a lot of, not a lot, some people don't really care about sex. Like they just have it and it's like whatever. But after you do with have that with somebody, you kind of you kind of get this other kind of liking towards them. Like I can't really explain it, but then it kind of gets you get closer to that person. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? That's how I feel. And then it feels good. And then you want to get to know them more and more and more. And you want to keep doing that more and more and more. That's kind of what I figured out
Yeah, I think that's yeah,
for
I can.
myself.
Yeah, no, I can see where you're coming from. I respect that point of view because it's very
Yeah.
different from mine, and I I love learning things like that are different than mine, because it's like I could take that into consideration in the future. And who knows, my viewpoint might change. Like I said, for me, being never have been in a real like relationship and never having sex, like obviously this is how I'm gonna think because I've never
Yeah.
experienced that. Who knows, when I experience that, I might change my mind. You never know. You know what I mean?
Well,
But
when I came out of my like 3.5 year relationship that we were talking about before, like I took a while to myself and I kind of took some time to get to know myself better. You know what I'm saying? Because at 17, I went into a relationship and I was just like in it. I was still like kind of developing mentally, like everything was like changing in my head. So when I got to like after that, I was 21 and I was like, yo, like it's time to like get to know other people after a couple months. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I've learned a lot from it too. And it's really an experience. But then you get hurt. That's not fun. That is the reality of it. And we will be talking about that more too. We're gonna be
I'm
talking
dead.
about we're
All
gonna be
the
talking
hurt.
about hurt.
All the
All the
hurt.
hurt.
Listen, speaking of
Ugh,
hurt, what do you
here we
view?
go.
What do you? What is your viewpoint on divorce? Now, oh my goodness, we haven't even gotten to the main topic yet, but like, and the main topic is gonna get us
These
really
are so
heated.
important though.
These
These
are
are so
so
important.
important. This viewpoint on divorce, I thought was like a general census for people that like obviously weren't like, very traditional, but this isn't the case. I literally know someone, and I'm not going to name names because they might listen to this. But it's not like, I mean, it's their belief. It's nothing. I mean, I don't think it's the best way to look at things because things happen. People get into, abusive relationships and everything like that. Sometimes people
100%.
have, things that are hidden until marriage. Some people have actual like mental like health issues that cause them when they see a trigger, they completely switch their personality. And it's like, you don't even know that person anymore. That causes divorce to happen. But I do know someone that has literally told me like verbatim, okay, not verbatim because it was a long time ago, so I don't remember exactly what they said, but they were like, yeah, no, I don't believe in divorce for any reason. You married that person for a reason and like you made that decision. And when they told me that, that like shook me to the core because it's funny because I've been in situations before where people hear things from me and they're like, wow, I've never heard anyone say that before. And I'm like, why? This is like such general knowledge. And like that moment for me was like an aha moment that like literally, Star, you have not seen the world to its fullest because you this one person, and mind you, this one person has been in my life my whole life. And I'm learning this thing about them. This one person is not the only person that has this viewpoint. So that just goes to show how many people have differing views than you, even though it might
Yeah.
seem like a blatantly obvious viewpoint. So with all that being said, what is your view on divorce? After hearing that, I don't know. I found that very surprising to hear, but I guess,
Well, I would actually like to hear what you think first because you just said, I mean, I obviously can get a gist of what you think because of your reaction to what this person told you. But like after they said that, you were obviously like, oh my God, like how can they have that belief? Why would
obviously I
you
didn't
think that?
react to that. I didn't react like
No,
that, like to
no,
that person.
but
I was very much like, I was like, oh wow, like that's really interesting. I'm like, for anything, like even like crazy situations, like abuse and stuff like that. And she was like, you married that person for a reason. It's under God. Like there has to be a reason you married them. Like you should work things out. I'm really against, they were trying their best to avoid them saying that someone should get a divorce. Like when I brought up the abuse, they were just like, well, they should like go to therapy and like really work it out. And it was like okay, so like leading into my belief, like obviously you could probably tell like I don't really think divorce is a big deal, like especially when you're like, obviously I think marriage is a really big deal because it's a legal binding contract. I don't think it's anything to do with love. I think that you can find love without having marriage. That's why I said like you should really, a lot of the things that I said you should do before marriage is a lot of things that people believe you should do after marriage, because marriage is legal. At the end of the day, it's a way that, and like a lot of people believe, I've heard a lot of people say this, like, and I agree with it, to the, like a lot of like marriage is really just a cash cow for a lot of corporations. And I think that marriage is a great tool to use in the legal and like financial areas, because it is important to have like delegators for those areas that are very important and can get very prideful at some moments. But at the end of the day, I think that if you want to take marriage as like, oh, it's love, it's peace, it's happiness, then you should focus on that before marriage, because having all the love and the peace and happiness happen in 1 second of putting that wedding ring on is like never going to happen in no one's life. You need to have these conversations. And a lot of the time, like I don't want to generalize here, like I really don't want to get into that swing of things, but like I just think that like divorce should be allowed. Divorce is something that isn't that big of a deal to me, because marriage isn't that big of a deal to me. Like marriage, like I said, to me it's just a legal thing that you do to kind of help with the finances and stuff like that. But you should know you're marrying the person. I do agree that you should know you're marrying the person before getting married, because you should have already done all these things that I said previously. Like you should have cohabitated with them, you should have built with them, you should have understood them, so that way when you get married, you don't have to get divorced. But I think if you want to get divorced because something crazy is happening, or like you just don't think it's the right person, like there's no issue with that. That's my viewpoint.
I would like to say I agree with almost everything you said. except for the part that I think marriage is a huge deal. And I used to even say, and to this day, I would always feel like I would never get married because it always scared me. Not that I have things in my life that, you know, scare me of marriage, because the people around me, like, they've been married, they haven't gotten divorced, but they have gone through a lot of relationship issues, like my family, you know.
Mhm.
I do have, you know, aunts and uncles that fight, and that, you know, it's I've seen and heard a lot of scary things with their relationships. And, you know, even watching my parents used to be like in a bad part of their marriage, but they've like grown from it, and they're like really good now. And so it does happen, and like you do see it. But to me, marriage is a huge deal. Like, I would really need to see myself spending the rest of my life with this person to get married. um and after that point, if they do anything to piss me off, 110%, or not anything to piss me off, I mean, like, if there was a loss of trust, stuff like that, like something doesn't work out after a while, then yeah, we're getting divorced. Like, cheating for me is another big factor. Like, divorce, I don't think I could ever forgive you. Divorce, even though I don't see myself getting married if I needed to get divorced. That's, I mean, another thing is that, like, I don't want to get married to get divorced. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Of course, that's yeah, that's
oh,
that's
I
that's what
just
I meant with what I was saying. I want to reiterate because I realize how I sounded. I think that marriage is important, not just for the legal factors, but also because, like, the legal factors push me to believe that it's important, but also because it's people make it such a big deal. Like, when you get married, you're not just gonna, most people don't just elope. And when you do elope, it's still like the legal part that's important. But when you
yes.
add the additional party to it, then it's like a real big like thing. Like, you have the party, you have like the meaning of it, that, you know, usually you have like a priest or something there that like says those words. I don't know the freaking words, so I'm not gonna say them because I don't know them. It's something like I do, like all that stuff. And will you marry me? Stuff like that. That is, I think that you should. I agree with you 100% that marriage is not something that's a tool, like just a game. Like, I think you should get married to mean to get married. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, you have all of these things that I believe, in my opinion, you should be doing before you decide to get married. Because when you decide to get married, it's because you have realized throughout your journey of cohabitating, co-parenting, all this stuff, you know, with the pets and stuff, that
Mhm.
you are ready for marriage, because that's a really big deal. So I agree with you. I agree with you. I just wanted to make that clear, but continue, please. I cut you off.
No, you didn't. What you just said is exactly what I think, because you need to be at that point. I always just said that I was always scared to get married because I would need to get divorced. So I have anxiety. So I think about like what can happen. And like in marriage, the worst that can happen to me is something happening for you to get divorced. That's what I think. But like I said, I just, in my experience, I have couples around me that are my family, and their marriages are are scary in a way. They scare me because of like how many issues, and like it's so much. Like, you married this person, you live with them, you have kids with them. It almost feels like you can't escape them. There's no
Mm-hmm.
way out, right? That's how some people feel, because divorce is such a scary thing. And even in like in my religion, like not in my religion, not my religion, I don't want to say, but like just like even like my family's beliefs, like I don't think they believe in marriage. I mean, not marriage. They don't believe in, not they don't believe in divorce, but it's almost kind of like, oh, they got divorced. Like,
Taboo.
that's, yes. And it's kind of like, why do we do that? Like, if they want to get divorced, that means that something in their relationship is not working. And that person is stopping them from meeting the best person
And
for
growing
them.
as a person. Like, they're just being, their
Exactly.
life is just being hindered and literally halted to a stop because, you know, they don't want to get divorced. My friend who is,
Ugh.
she's also very similar to where she's like Muslim, but she doesn't really practice. Her mother is a very heavy, like, she's very heavy into the culture and everything and reading. I'm very bad with different religions. The book that you guys have.
The Quran.
Yes. So she's very like in deep with it, and even reading it specifically in Arabic. I believe that's like a big thing for you guys, right?
That's the yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it's standard. It's in Arabic.
Now my
Yeah.
friend is from Jordan and you are from Turkey. I don't know if that has, I don't know. I don't, there shouldn't be any differences because it's the same religion. But my point being is that her mother has been in a very toxic marriage for the past, her whole life, basically. And
Mm.
My friend will literally tell me, like, I don't know why my mom doesn't get divorced. It's just because of her religion. And like, it really holds her back because her mom used to be such a fun person and everything like that. And then like after it's just like, so like I've
It
seen the effects of
affects.
it. Yeah.
And it doesn't
But
just affect the person that's in the relationship, it affects the whole family.
the
It affects the whole
children,
dynamic. It's
my
that's
friend is like,
the
it's so
children.
sad.
I know. It's I don't know. If you if you need to get divorced,
Please do
then
it.
you need to get divorced because it's only gonna get worse if you stay.
Exactly.
Sometimes, some depending on what the situation is, if it does get better, then great. But if it isn't getting better and it's been years and stuff like that, like you need to go. Like I completely think that if anyone wants to get divorced, I will not be a frown. I think every time I hear about people getting divorced, I'm like, good. I'm like, great.
They
That's so
figured out
good.
what was wrong. They
They figured,
grew. They're
please.
growing.
It's you become even stronger. I think it's amazing. Like, oh my God, I have this girl that always comes in. Just a quick side note, this lady comes into the pharmacy where I work, and every time she has to say her last name to pick up her prescription, she either gives me like she gives me her last name, her maiden name. And
Mm-hmm.
then one time I didn't have her prescription coming up for her maiden name.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, oh, I really don't want to give you this last name, but it might be under this for some odd reason. I mean, I got a text that my prescription was ready, da 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 da. I'm like, okay, like let's figure it out. Like, what's that last name? And like she was just so like it was almost like very like powerful for her to like use her maiden name now. She's like, yeah, I'm really just trying to get away from that last name. And I looked it up. I'm like, no, it's not under that. So I looked up her birthday. I saw her profile. She was fine. It was her maiden name. We just didn't have anything ready for her if anyone wanted to know the whole situation. But then we like were talking. She was like, yeah, I'm really trying to get away from that last name. Like it almost felt like that last name to her was, holding her back. So like
Mm-hmm.
she got a divorce. That man is no longer in her life. She's using her maiden name, and she's like, she's doing like she was so sweet, very energetic. Like she was like very happy that it wasn't under that last name. And she was like, oh, thank God. But it was almost like not that she was bitter, but that she was like just
Hurt.
hurt, but she like got through it, like very strong, very independent
Mm.
woman, like standing right in front of me. And I was like, after she walked away, she said a couple other things I just don't remember, but after she walked away, I was like, wow, like usually people, I don't know. I was like, wow, it was great. I don't know. That's
No,
just
I
like
like
an
that story.
experience that I had. Yeah, I thought it was amazing. And I've seen her a couple times after, and she's so sweet. She's like, I love you guys. You guys are great here. I'm like, oh my God, you're like, just, I don't know. Like, people who do go through divorces, it's hard, you
Yeah.
know, especially if you're not Kim Kardashian.
Mm, uh.
Uh, uh,
Wait, okay.
I'm just sorry, but no, seriously,
No.
like for regular people, divorces are not easy, and I don't want to take that away from anybody because financially you go through a lot, mentally you go through a lot, and literally your whole life is just changed. This person that spent whatever time with, you're no longer with, and then they're gonna go out and do other things. What if you get left behind? What if you don't meet somebody and they do? Like, there's jealousy involved. There's so many things, but really, like just in this experience, that woman standing in front of me, I was like, she made it out alive and she's doing amazing. God bless her soul. And that's
Exactly.
that.
And you got to see the growth in person. I think that's really good. I
No, yeah,
I
100%.
I think it's funny because Selin was literally about to do the best thing in the world and she was about to transition into our main topic very smoothly. I want to give her a round of applause for that one.
I know.
However, I did last minute. I don't know if she saw the revision. I added in a quick question, just as a random question, still relationship kind of oriented, but I just wanted her opinion because my friends are talking about this and I was like, I wonder what Selin thinks about this. So I just threw it in here. Very random, nothing related to the topic. Can men and women just be friends? Now I know this question might be triggering in some way just because we're specifically talking about the gender men and women. So I'm including, like, the reason why I'm just focusing on men and women is because there is a stereotype behind men and women not being able to just be friends. And that's why I just have these two genders in this question. So it just pertains to them in relation to this question. That's why I'm asking. I hope everyone understands. I hope I don't offend anybody. And I'm really sorry if I do. This is a very general question that's been asked for years, and I just wanted to know Selin's opinion on it. So, Selin, what is your opinion?
I think so. What I think is that it's okay for men and women to be friends. It's okay for somebody of the opposite sex to be friends with the opposite sex. Um, But to an extent, if I know for a fact that this, I'm in a relationship with this person and they want to be friends with the opposite sex that they might have had a relationship with, or something had happened, or there's a history, or you can't still be friends with that person. I I am very hard. I am very hard to trust people, and I just feel like that for me would be hard to be okay with. I would start getting really jealous because I am the jealous type. But in general, if it's like a friend that you've had for a really long time, because like everyone has friends of the opposite sex, like really good friends, right? That's fine. Like I'm not gonna be like you can't be friends with that person, but
Mm-hmm.
to an extent, I I kind of want to know how you feel.
I I mean, it's weird. I have no guy friends. I have no guy friends at all. So I cannot speak on the generic male experience because I am a quite different type of guy. I don't really believe in the same things most stereotypical guys believe in and live this stereotypical guy life. So I can't really speak on the guy experience, but I can speak on the female experience because all of my friends are girls. All of my life, I've only had friends that are girls, except like the one or two friends, which weren't really friends. They were just like people that I knew that were guys, right? Or like I would
Okay,
consider acquaintances. So that
acquaintances.
being said, I've had multiple friends that are girls. Always, always, always complain to me. I thought he was just a friend. Then it turns out just 2 weeks later, he's asking me out. I'm so sad. I really thought we were just friends. I had this one friend. We were in middle school or high school. It was me and this group of girls, and we were all friends. And then there was a group of like guys. And so every lunch we would hang out, like just our groups. And like I was just like on my own. Like I really didn't associate with, not that I didn't associate with any group, but I mean, obviously I was with the girl group more, but like I was with the girl group because they were all my friends. It wasn't because I was in that group, because there were other girls in that group that I didn't really talk to, but it was just because they were my friends. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was choosing
Yeah.
one side or the other. But when we were about to graduate, literally every single guy in that guy group started dating the girls in the girl group. And so they were all partnered up at one point. And I took a step back and I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness. And I talked to one of my friends. I don't know if I should give her a shout out. No, I won't give her a shout out because I don't know if she'll feel comfortable. And I was like, hey, I was like, hey, like, do you notice like this? And she's like, yeah, no, like one of them asked me out too. And they ended up asking someone else out. And now I feel kind of weird. And it was kind of like turning the girls against each other. And it did a little bit. It really did. It started to turn the girls against each other. And I don't know where I'm going with this. It was just a very interesting
I
situation
know
that
what you're
happened.
saying.
And
Hmm.
it doesn't lead me to the conclusion that men and women in, heterosexual relationships, obviously in this case, can't be friends. But it does make me think, like, as I said, I've had no guy friends. So I'm wondering, like, how do guys think? Like, is it really this serious where most, heterosexual guys will act this way? They will befriend a woman just to get to them. And a lot of like people that get asked the question like on the shade room or anything like that, any like media website will tell you, like, guys will be straight up and be like, yeah, like most times I'm just trying to get, whatever. And it's like, but why? Like, that I think is the main question. It's very hard for me to answer this question. I don't know. Can men and women just be friends heterosexually? I really don't know, because I want to say yes, but life has proven to me over and over again that, like, it seems like
Maybe not.
it's not that, maybe not. It's just like it seems like it's a very rare occurrence. So I guess what I would say is, can the general question, right? Can men and women just be friends? Yes, right. But it seems like it's very rare that that happens. And when it does happen, it's almost like taboo, because it's like, well, like you said, and not to call you out because I'm the jealous type too, but like then maybe like if the guy's friends with the girls, then maybe his girlfriend is jealous if that happens, and then it like ruins the girl and the guy's friendship, and it's like a whole thing because it's so taboo and like not used to. So I think that it's something that we need to go through as a society, and kind of like not look at everybody as like sexual partners and stuff like that. But I also think that, overall, like, it is possible for guys and girls to be friends.
100%. It is possible, but just leave it off definitely to an extent, because what you were saying about all the girls kind of being like kid turning against each other, that does happen. And it's kind of like, if you're close to a like if a guy is close to a girl and he starts dating another girl, that girl that is actually friends with him, they feel like they have, you know, a hold over that guy. Like I've seen this happen. Like I don't know. It's hard to explain. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, you can't be friends with a guy even after, you know, he meets a girl. Like that girl that's his friend should be happy for him that he's in a relationship. But I feel like some girls, like, they're nasty about it. You know what I mean?
They get jealous, like they're losing their friend, kind of.
Exactly. And it makes it kind of, it's not like a guy and a guy friendship thing, a guy getting jealous over losing his best friend, but like, because then, you know, the girl would feel bad, but they would be okay with letting him hang out with him more, you know? But if it's the same situation with a girl,
it looks kind of weird because of, you know, lifestyles and stereotypes and stuff like that.
Exactly. So I would also have a hard time with that. Like if that girl's getting jealous too damn bad, you know what I'm saying? Like if she wants to hang out with us, great. If she wants to hang out with him once in a while, like still see his friend in a friend group, that's fine. But they're not about to go get dinner together.
Ooh.
Alone.
What happens if they get dinner together? What you gonna do?
Listen, I'll beat a bitch up. I'm just kidding. But no, that's really how I feel.
Selin said in that other episode, she said, I throw down. I said, I don't fight. Selin's like, oh, don't worry. I don't need you. I got myself.
She said, I'll fight. I said, bitch, I'll fight for you. Don't you worry.
Oh, bleep.
Oh, bleep, 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 bleep the whole time. Oh, but for real, that's how I feel. I don't know.
No, I love that. All right, let's head right into the main topic. It would have been a smoother transition with the previous discussion, but we're just gonna roll right into it.
Yeah, I tried, but then I was like, oh, here's another question.
You're good. So, the title of this episode, right? The Reels of Relationship. So we've talked about our relationship. Let's dissect a very, very famous relationship. Kim and Kanye's mess. Welcome to the Twilight Time Topics, where today is the full episode. And it's, well, the stressful situation between Kim and Kanye. They recently, I mean, really not recently, but I mean, it's getting drifted up into in public media of their public divorce. Now, I'm about to do a lot of talking before, you know, we really dig into this, just because I want to give a little bit of background, but I'm not going to touch on everything because there's way too much to talk about, and we've already talked a lot. So, and it's also not entirely important to the conversations that we're gonna have as a whole, but I'm just gonna. So once again, I want to reiterate, while talking about these situations, it is entertaining. We must also remember that these are real people with real situations, and other people are getting affected by these actions. Not only the people involved, but like other people, their families are also getting involved. So it's important to kind of have that sort of like viewpoint and like empathy to an extent. So we're going to be discussing the posts and like talks between Kim and Kanye and our thoughts on the whole situation and what we think the next steps could be for this to get better. But mainly we're going to be talking about situations that have happened to us that are similar to this and why this sparks interest in us. Now, the backstory for people that might be living under a rock and not know what the fuck is going on. Kim and Kanye, which apparently I was listening to another podcast, he wanted to be referred to as Ye, like he changed his name. So forgive me if I keep calling him Kanye. I've called him Kanye my whole life. It's very, you know, it's one of those things where you kind of have to train yourself for. So I'm going to try my best, but bear with me, please. I'm sorry.
What? I didn't even know that.
I mean, I don't know if it's that serious. I only heard it on a podcast, but I was like, you know what? I'm not about to be out here tripping, so I'm just do it anyway.
All right. So I love that for you.
But girl, I don't know if I'm gonna try.
Listen, it's impossible. Like Kanye, like that's just as iconic. Like, why does he have to change his name? The hell?
But so the fun fact, which I didn't even know this, I mean, I kind of thought about it, but I didn't really know if it was 100% or not. They are getting a divorce. They are not divorced yet. According to Cosmopolitan on February 4th, 2022, they are not divorced yet. Like legally, which I didn't know.
It's not finalized.
Did you know that? I didn't know that.
Wait, I knew they were getting a divorce. I didn't think it was finalized because I haven't seen, you know, when people get finalized divorces, it's like all a big thing. It's huge. Okay. I didn't see any articles, so I just assumed they were obviously getting a divorce because they've been separated and, you know, doing their own things. But it's not finalized. It's a long process, these divorces. So
true. So once this happened, that's when it kind of spiraled out of control. the way it was presented on social media, because at the end of the day, we have no idea what goes on in their personal lives. Kim was trying to work on the situation with Kanye. And the situation in particular are ones that kind of occurred a few years ago, where he was kind of making these really loud statements, public actions online that Kim did not like, according to these social media outlets, which is what led to the divorce. Now, I can't remember all of the situations, right? But some of them include him publicly arguing with the family on Twitter, his political, rants and adventures in politics that ultimately led to Kim having enough and wanting a divorce. Now, again, this is what social media portrays. So I don't know if this is what happened in the house, but that's what social media make it look like.
I don't know if this has happened in the house.
Listen, in the house, listen.
Oh my God.
So
I mean, I saw a lot of things on social media.
That's the thing, right? It was all over.
And most of it was like jokes. Like you said house for a second. I just remember this quick really one where Kanye was apparently buying a house down the street from Kim, and then he was gonna be outside the house with a boombox talking about "Take Me Back," all this. I'm joking. I was literally dying of laughter because people were just like, it was so sad to see people making fun of their whole relationship.
It's so stupid.
Like,
I literally
4 kids later.
Exactly.
Like, God, it's sad. Like, I thought people, like, it was funny. I laughed, but I was like, this is sad.
And what led up to this, like, exactly, like, the final straw, we don't really know what happened. And the funny part is that when it was announced that they were getting a divorce, there was actually other occurrences that we saw them together again, including August 26, 2022. Kanye performed with Kim in her wedding dress. Now, I don't know if you remember that, Selin. I kind of forgot about that until I looked up this article, Cosmopolitan, and I was like, I forgot about that.
I didn't even know the way he performed in a live concert with wearing her dress.
No. He performed, and he brought out like Marilyn Manson, which was really random, and like other people, and he also brought out Kim, and Kim was wearing her wedding dress, and so everyone's like, oh, are they back together? Was this all a stunt and everything like that? And this was back in August 26, 2022. Now, the timeline, you're right, thank you. Now, speaking of freaking messing up the years, the timeline is the funny part, because according to the Cosmo article, the first real reports of the divorce was back in January 2021. But when things started escalating, this was of recent, January 16th, 2022. This seems to be the day that things really started going downhill, at least in the public eye. On this day, Kanye went public, stating Kim was holding his kids from him, not giving him the address to his daughter's birthday, Chicago. The world went crazy with this because, well, one, it was really confusing because we all thought that Kim was like trying to work this out. It was just very confusing, at least for me. And we still don't know. Sorry. We still don't know what really happened to this day. But like I said, I choose to believe. I've only seen and heard good things about what Kim has been doing for her children. So I would believe, and like her parenting skills, so I would hope to believe that she wouldn't be withholding her kids from Kanye without reasonable, like, you know what I mean?
100%. Now, really quickly, I know that, we don't really know exactly what the last straw of the whole divorce was. And, that's obviously should be kept private because even though they're in the public eye, that is something that they went through. But mental health is huge. And I feel like his mental health was definitely decreasing. And she had talked about that a couple months ago about, he was getting a little like crazy. Like he not that he wasn't, I don't know if he was supposed to be taking meds, but like she was really concerned for him. You know what I'm saying? Like there was still love on her part for him.
The whole time I've only seen love, at least, like I said, on the outside, looking in publicly, Kim has only shown love from what 100%. It looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And Kanye has only been aggressive, which
exactly.
On the inside, Kim might be really aggressive. He might be really loving. We don't know. But the thing is that when you're in the public eye and you're aggressively being aggressive in the public eye, and the other person is being very like nice, that doesn't really help your case.
No, and I believe he's like that in person too. He's always been very cocky in a way.
Mhm.
And he doesn't really care what he says in the media. Honestly, he doesn't care what he says and what he does, but it's gonna hurt people in his family, including his
E-
kids.
Exactly. And the funny part is, word has it that he was planning his own birthday for Chicago, like on a separate day to celebrate with him and her, so that they had their own each days to celebrate their respective parties. You get what I'm saying? So people would attend to
Yeah.
those like separately. Well,
Obviously,
after
something had went down if she didn't want him there. You know, I don't think she would do that out of spite. They are a good family. In a whole, that's what I think, even though we don't know the full story. But I don't think she would have done that.
with that
You know,
reason,
exactly.
yeah, it like that part is so confusing for me because it's like I really do wonder like what led up to her. I don't know, because then she said she wasn't holding the address from him and that he knew where she was. I don't know. Someone's lying, and I don't know who it is, but
That's too much. It's so dramatic.
it
He might just be
is.
too dramatic. Listen.
Listen, after that social media frenzy, he ended up getting the address and he ended up attending. So basically, after bashing the whole entire family, dragging their name for Phil, saying how he doesn't get to see his daughter, he's banned, he's there smiling, right, standing right next to Chris. I don't know if you've seen that photo. But
I think I have.
yeah, he was right there next to Chris, and that was really interesting.
Mm,
But that's not the only incident of recent, you know what I mean, that really started this kind of social downfall of them. Another recent social media incident was when he was upset about his daughter using TikTok and how it was against TikTok's policies to let his daughter use TikTok because she was underage, and Kanye just didn't like it. This is when Kim, I believe this is like the real like kind of first incident she went public and was kind of like not rude about it, but she was like kind of shady. She went public on social media stating how she was basically over all of this being on social media and that Kanye had multiple, this was like the shady part. She basically mentioned that he had multiple lawyers in like a really short period of time. And that like is a really bad look, obviously, when you're going through so many lawyers in such a quick period of time, and that he should just get back to one of them and they should handle their issues privately. Now, we are recording this episode on February 22nd, but when I was writing the script, I was writing the script on February 15th. So yeah, to February 14th, 2022, Kanye posted a private message from Kim. Now, this post is what really sparked my interest in talking about this conversation because I've had my trust broken like this before, and it really triggered me. He posted a private message from Kim on social media with her saying how she's upset and that her messages are getting about how her messages are getting posted and how her new boyfriend Pete Davidson, which we haven't even mentioned this whole time because while he is prevalent to the story, this is mainly about Kim and Kanye and their children and how this is going to affect their whole family for years to come. But basically, Kanye was giving out threats. I don't know if he was giving out threats or he was like talking trash about Pete, and then like Kanye's fans were giving out threats, but Pete was getting threats and Kim was over it. She was just over everything. And you know, that
she
was
just
kind of
wants to
like
move on and be
she just wants to
happy.
move
Like,
on.
fuck.
Exactly. And that's kind of like
Jeez.
the last update that I have on this situation. I think there's been like little things here and there that have happened, but nothing too earth shattering like these situations, especially nothing as big as like the posting of the text messages that caught my eye because so many people in his comment section were like laughing and like praising him and like sharing his post on their story. And it really made me think of how desensitized as humans we are. Obviously, Kanye is a huge, amazing artist. He's very artistic. He's very influential. He's very big. He's very. I'm trying to say I really respect him as a artist and like a musician and a cultural. He's a big person for the culture. Like as I'm trying to say, like it's so hard to find the words I'm trying to say, but I'm saying I respect him at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But just because he's done all these good things does not mean we laugh and publicize this event that he posted private messages with his ex-wife about their horrible situation they're going through. That is not funny. I'm sorry, that really triggered me when the Shade Room posted that and there was comments all under that laughing and like applauding him and saying that's right and stuff like. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Are we that desensitized to the world to think that these are real human beings going through this? And the fact that he's making this so public forget about them. Think about the children. The children are going to have to look back at this. And that's what I'm mainly concerned about. Like I said, I'm not talking about anybody's parenting. I'm just talking about the actual kids, the effects that this is going to have on the kids. I'm not telling the parents what to do. I'm just saying, think about the effects it's going to have on the kids. Because at the end of the day, the kids are going to see this. They're affected by this right now, and they will be in the future. And like the fact that you're laughing at this and like posting it and all this other stuff, like, what's so funny? Please tell me. That's kind of the end of my like backstory on the situation. So now that I've kind of said everything, Selin, I want to hear your thoughts on this because, come on, like this is crazy.
No, it is crazy. And like, just Kim's whole family, including her, she's been in the public eye for such a long time. And she's gone through a divorce. She's gone through things that, to normal people should be very private, but being in the public eye, you don't really get that option, especially being Kim Kardashian. She doesn't really get to ever step away because she is missed. She genuinely is a good person, and I would like to believe that from like her whole heart. I think is very good. She gives back. She does things for the country that she's from. They're Armenian, and she does a lot of advocacy for them, which is great. And it is a country that does, not that it needs help, but like, she does put that name out there, and she does things for people that are in jail for, wrong convictions, and she gets them out and brings them back to their family. Like, I genuinely think she's a great person. Don't really see much of Kanye doing that. Not that I'm saying that that's what I'm solely basing what I believe about the situation, because I would, if you're asking me, Kim is coming from a place where she just wants to move on. You know what I mean? She's probably been through so much mentally with this person. Kanye does say crazy things. He does do crazy things. I'm not saying he's not a good father, but the way he is acting publicly in the media is proving it to be that he is not being the father that he should be, or not, he wasn't obviously being the husband that she wanted. And like we talked about before, divorce is always an option. You can always move on. And she has. She seems happy. But if he's going to keep holding her back, it's going to be a problem. And she has a lot of money. She is very powerful. And honestly, I would be scared of her. So I don't know what he's doing and why he has to publicly bash her, because I don't know about what happened. We don't know what happened, right? But if I can guess, and like I said before, I'm bringing it back to mental health. His mental health, it was definitely depleting. Like, it was definitely not in a good place. And that is not a good foundation for a relationship, especially a marriage. When you have 4 kids, it's hard. You're managing having 4 kids, and then you have to manage having another kid, basically. Like, she would have to deal with Kanye. Like, he wasn't probably helping as much as he should have. Like I said, like, it's a partnership, and it's so important that you feel that way from your partner. So I definitely think that, and this is what I think, this is my opinion, something definitely went down and she was done. He wasn't doing what he was supposed to, and she was done. And she, like I said, she can be done. She doesn't have to wait a long time because she has the money and she is powerful and she could be on her own and she is very independent, like she has been for a while. She doesn't need somebody. She just wants somebody. And that's what I definitely don't think that I'm saying that she needs somebody just because of how she portrays herself, but maybe that's not the case. Maybe she does need somebody. But just by how I see her in the media, how she holds herself, she's very independent. And honestly, I don't think he is. I think he relies on people. And I think that might have been the issue. Like, if I'm really dissecting it,
That's a
like,
really good point.
you know what I'm saying? I
No,
personally,
yeah.
I don't know. And I don't want to be putting things out there, but this is just my opinion. Like, you see these things. Like, I saw it in my relationship. Being relied on, oh my God. Putting all of your mental health issues on somebody else that might already have their own mental health issues, might have their own shit that they go, own things that they go through. It's a problem. And I mean,
But then that
maybe,
also goes into the conversation, like marriage is supposed to be like a combination of life, right? So when you made that decision to get married, you knew that you were taking on the other person's issues. Like, some people, I'm not bringing up the argument. I'm playing devil's advocate. And I'm saying that some people
no,
might
I'm
bring
glad
up that
you are.
argument.
Yes, I agree with what you're saying. hold on. But at the same time, marriage, we're supposed to look at marriage as like a team, right? Is that what you would think? Like a team,
Yeah.
right? You're in it together and you're figuring things out together and you're living life together. It's a great thing. You know what I'm saying? People get married. It's like the best time. Like it's like you unlock this whole other like viewpoint of that person, and it's great. I don't know, I've never been married, but I know people who have just gotten married, and it's like the greatest thing. They love being married, right? Until something goes bad and you fight and you argue, which is normal because you'll get through it, and it's good for a relationship. That's healthy. You need to talk things out. But by what you just said, yeah, getting married is like taking on that person's, problems, facing them together head on. But if it's just one person doing all of the work, it's not going to work.
That's
I
very
just use
true.
I just use work so much, but
No,
if
but
it's
that's
just,
very true.
yeah, it just can't be one-sided. Again, like I said, you need to be a team. So I think she
Mm-hmm.
was doing too much. She was getting too much put on her. Maybe she was getting blamed for things that was happening in his life because
Mm-hmm.
his life recently hasn't been the greatest. I really do think he struggles with mental health. And I do remember her saying something about, you know, him needing to be on medication, and they've had this conversation, but he refuses, but it's like you can't live your life like that because you're being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just being selfish. You're not trying to get better. So why would that other person, why would Kim put so much effort? She doesn't deserve that. That's not fair. So
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
like,
100%. I think it's. Oh,
sorry, I dropped my
I,
headphone.
you're good. I think it's good that you brought up that point because I didn't even think about it like that. Like it is a teamwork. Like obviously, it is very prevalent that even though we don't know what's going on inside their house, on the outside looking in, it seems like Kim's doing most of the work to kind of help repair and keep it classy. You know what I mean? Cute and classy. But it seems like Kanye just kind of poking the bear, poking the bear, poking the bear,
Mm-hmm.
and then well, you got 3 lawyers. Like obviously, it's gonna come out. Like that's gonna happen when you keep on poking the bear, especially because that was
Yep.
like and Kim's. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. Now we touched on a lot of in my notes I have like four main, obviously I have my questions, but I had four like main things that really like triggered me in this conversation, which we've touched on most of them. They were manipulation, trust being broken, kids being exposed to this, and broadcasting on social media. We didn't touch on manipulation much. I just wanted to like skim over that in reference to this. We are going to like really go deep into these different categories on different episodes in relation to relationships. Um, but in terms of like this like conversation, his manipulation tactics on Kim are absolutely absurd. Stating that and like I have been involved, like my mother is a very big manipulator. And I've seen the tactics that he is doing in my mother in relation to me and other people that she's manipulated. Him stating he only wants what's best for his kids while clearly trying to bring Kim down and trying to make her feel like she's the bad parent, like making the other parent look bad to make your kids feel like that doesn't make any sense. It has no correlation whatsoever. Now, obviously, like me and Selin are both clearly on Kim's side. But what Kanye has done is, to me, like completely unacceptable. He starts going public with all these issues. I don't know, like it just really
He doesn't need to make it more public than it already is. They're being followed
exactly.
around. Like he is just putting it more into the media for what reason? It's a joke. Like they're already in the freaking public eye. Like he doesn't need to make it more of a situation. And I think that's probably what, that would make me upset. We can keep some things private, and and I think he needed to learn that because he thinks that like just putting things out there is like good for what? I don't know, for his exposure, for people for him to still be current, to him still be relevant. He's Kanye West. People still listen to his music. He will be relevant. You don't need to air out your dirty laundry.
He just
It's fine.
released his album Donda 2 on an exclusive device that only you could listen to through his like thing. And I was listening to something earlier, and apparently he sold over 1 million. And do you know how much the device was worth?
How much?
$200.
What?
So if I'm doing the math correctly, according to what I was listening to, 1 million times 200. So people
And
obviously still want to listen to him. There's no doubt on that. So all of these tactics, I doubt are like for publicity. You know what I mean? I personally think that goes back into manipulation. He's trying to like force Kim into certain situations, utilizing social media as a tool to manipulate Kim and keep her kids from her. I don't know if that's what he's trying to go after, but that is what I'm viewing.
oh, that's
And
terrible.
that's what I think. I like I said, I'm relating this back to me. I've seen these tactics used before where you try to make someone feel bad, like, oh, why is she on TikTok? Oh, why is she? You're just trying to, make my kid go
Making
into
her
these
seem
bad
like a bad mother.
when it was all fun and dandy when you were with her. Like I mean,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
you
It's
know,
all to make her seem like a bad mom. And I hate that perspective when men do that. Because being a mom, I'm sorry, is I think a lot harder than being a dad, depending on your situation. But like it's so, I don't know, it's just different. You have a different connection with your child when you're a mom. And to be called a bad mother, if you really don't believe you're a bad mother and people around you tell you you're a good mother, but then that one person says you're a bad mom, that could be so mentally draining. And it's scary. Like it's scary. It almost makes you think like, what is she gonna do about all this? Like how is she gonna retaliate? Like it's sad. Like there's no need for that
yeah,
at all. He's
no,
just
it's
trying to prove to us, to everybody listening and watching and following this, that she's a bad mom. But I think most people aren't going to believe that because it's proven to be that she's not. Like she really does. None of the Kardashians, I don't think, they do everything for their families. And I think that's the most important thing.
I think that over the weeks we're gonna see this. Obviously it's been a few weeks since we got the last information from February 14th, but I think over the
Yeah.
coming year we're really gonna see a change in this family. They have a new show coming out on Hulu, all this other stuff. So we'll definitely be able to keep updated with them. And if anything interesting and like groundbreaking happens, we'll definitely keep you guys up to date. This whole conversation, honestly, like we're recording this really late at night, so I apologize if my energy seems a little low, but not just that, this conversation has been so draining to me because it's honestly so confusing. We were exposed to the situation at half a glance. We don't know what the other half looks like, and it makes it so hard to make an
Opinions, like form
educated,
opinion. Yeah.
exactly, educatedly, like intelligently, because it's like we don't really have all the information we need to make an opinion on this and to talk about it. But
There's certain ideas that we can make
exactly.
and opinions we can have, but at the end of the day, we really don't know what's going on. And
Exactly.
it's I don't know. I just feel bad. Like I would have never thought when they got married that they would actually be talking about getting divorced. But over the past couple of years, in more recent years, he has been doing some questionable things, saying some questionable things, and she's kind of just stood there and supported him. But like to what extent? Sometimes you
Yeah.
can't believe in what your significant other is always saying. There is always going to be something that you might not agree with, and that's totally normal. But maybe in their relationship, that's something that could have been like that could have been so bad for him. Like maybe he was trying to control her too much. Like there's a lot of patterns that we do see in relationships that are in the media, and it could just be another case of those. But to bash a mom, to say that she's all that stuff, to put that out there, that's a whole nother level. Like I haven't seen that in a relationship. I don't know. Have you seen that but in like a famous person's relationship where they like come out and like say these things? Like he's so aggressive. Like it's so rude.
Not that I could think of, but I honestly don't follow a lot of like, surprisingly with this
I
conversation, I don't
I
follow a lot
know.
of like social media drama. I mean, I look at it and I see it, but I don't really keep up with it. I just kind of see it
Not that
as
you would
I'm
remember.
scrolling. And
Yeah.
exactly, now that I remember, um, I've seen it in like my personal life, like, you know what I mean? But I haven't seen it like in this like intense in social media.
Yeah. And media it's a crazy thing. So
And the fact that he got with Julia Fox just to get back with her, like that was so obviously just like a
That was
rebound.
so confusing to me. That was so confusing to me.
And then she went on the Daddy podcast, or Call Me Daddy podcast, and was like, I was his muse.
I was all over the place. I was so confused. And then after I saw that, I was like, I'm done with this whole thing. I was like, I'm genuinely confused at what they're doing. Like, not like they're both grown adults. Obviously, they should be able to do whatever they want. But not only is like he is adding more fuel to the fire, but like now this girl is, now that she's saying these things. I was just all over the place. Like Kim and Pete, really, I haven't seen anything crazy. I just see them going out to dinner. I see
He's
them
been making
genuinely
little jokes here and there, but nothing like.
Pete.
I think so. I think on like SNL, he's been making like little
Maybe,
jokes here and there, but nothing like
yeah,
crazy. I mean, what are you gonna do when someone's literally threatening you? You're obviously not gonna friggin'
100%.
be quiet about it. You're gonna say something, and he's
No,
dealing with it. I think if this is, like I said, we only know what's on the outside, but if he's
yeah,
dealing with it in this way, I'd rather him be making jokes about it than actually hiring people to like shoot up Kanye. Like, what the frick? Like,
yeah. No, I 100% agree. I personally, I love Pete Davidson. I think he's
I
a great
have
person.
no opinion on him. I only know him
You
because of
know,
Ariana Grande.
oh gosh, my pharmacist, the at my job, the head pharmacist, she actually went to school with him.
Oh,
They were in the
that's
same grade.
cool.
Yeah, she's from Staten Island, and so is he. And his dad, I think, died in 9/11. So they had a huge memorial for him at the school, and like everybody went, and it was like super sad and stuff like that because he legitimately died. He was a firefighter. He died in 9/11,
Yeah, there was a
and it was
movie
like,
that Pete made about that.
yeah, yeah, and it was like super sad. And she said like obviously she doesn't know what type of person he is now, but like back then, like I think she like it was he was like he's down to earth almost. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
not, I don't know, and he still remembers where he comes from, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Always being humble in that way is very
Yeah,
important,
like
especially
she
when you're social
literally
media.
he brought her to Staten Island to eat at a restaurant. I was like,
Oh, that's cute.
what? I was like, oh wow, that's actually great. Kim Kardashian in Staten Island, not in Manhattan, not in, she was in Staten Island. I said,
Yeah.
wow. I said, okay. That to me was
Celine's
the groundbreaking.
Celine said, "You never catch me there."
Listen, I get my hair done in Staten Island. I got love for the island, but let me tell you, I was not expecting Kim K to be stepping on those grounds. I said, oh damn. It was great. It was great. It's so weird what's going on though. Everything with them is just
Everything is like,
it's crazy. It's
yeah.
crazy. Like it's crazy. But
To to kind of bring this conversation to a close, I gotta bring a little bit of psychology into it. This is gonna
yeah,
be our like our ending question. I don't know what the freaking call it. It's just part of the just ending question.
conclusion?
We'll figure out a name for it at some point. But right now, it's because it's still part of the topic. It's still part of it, but it'll kind of help us like have final thoughts about it, and once again, kind of bring like psychology back into it. Um, I always want to focus on bettering our mental health and how to grow from these situations. So how and when do we cut people off for the benefit of our own mental health? Now,
Mm,
personally, I feel it's important to cut people off when you look around and realize all the negative energy in your life is in somehow relation to them. This can be discussed, of course, like we mentioned, manipulation tactics and all this other stuff. But you know, you like I mentioned about myself and like my personal view on like relationships and like that. Like I have to be happy in myself before allowing someone else to come into that or allowing myself to influence someone else's life. You know, if you are depending on someone else for that happiness, that's not the way you live because it's not okay. Like how can you depend on that's like running off of a battery. That's like if we were to run off batteries, they're gonna die at some point. You can't always do that. You need to recharge it at some way. And recharging it for me is like loving yourself at some points or like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? So
no,
so
and yes.
so what do you think? When does your like cutting people off? Like when do you do it
Well,
for the benefit of your own mental health?
for your own. Okay, so whenever you so for the benefit of my mental health, if I really feel that there is if there isn't any time in my head for that other person, I don't have the energy, I just don't have the thought process to even have a conversation with this person or just even try, You know what I'm saying? Like, that was my past relationship. I was starting to feel like, okay, wow, like, I really need to be alone. Like, I need to figure this stuff out. I can't do it while giving my energy and attention to somebody else and not myself, because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to take care of myself first. So that's exactly when I knew. And like, I literally had to do that. I had to leave. I had to get out. I just knew that for my mental being, for my mental health, it would be better after that. And it did. I focused on myself. So whenever you really feel like you just don't have the capacity in your head for that other person, and they genuinely are draining you and you don't have the energy, and if you talk to them or when you're with them, they don't make you feel any type of better. They're not a distraction. They don't really give you what you need. It could be a relationship, it could be a friendship, it could be anything. That's when I feel like you would need to cut that person off, because they're not doing anything for you in your life, genuinely. And
Yeah.
I think in my life right now, I only have people around me that generate the same energy that I do, and they give that back to me. And it's great. It's like we're on the same wavelength, we're vibing, and it's just good. It's just good. Like, I love that.
Good energy all around.
Yes. It's all we could use, honestly.
Listen, okay. Well, guys, I I I really think that we kind of touched on a lot of aspects in this conversation, a lot more than I even intended to on my notes. And I really like that we were able to do that. Obviously, we sped through some things to try and like fit everything in. This is going to be a much longer episode. I think this was going to be the longest one we ever
I
did.
think this might be the longest one. We had a lot to say.
A lot to say.
It's very
But this,
personal, so
exactly, like I mentioned, like the reason why I chose this is because like I choose most of the topics, like I mentioned, because Selin's very busy. But even when I presented it to her, like she was like, "Oh yeah, like totally, we have to talk about this because it really resonates with us because we have experiences that are very similar to this. Like as mentioned with my mother, Selin mentioned with her previous relationship, like it's very close to home for us. And while we discussed Kim and Kanye's situation in depth and like pretty heavy, we also brought in like viewpoints of our own because we have seen this before. We've literally lived through something so
we've
similar
lived
in our
it.
own. Exactly. So I think it was very thought-provoking and interesting conversation, and I really hope you guys enjoyed our feedback. We'd love to hear your feedback, of course. Comment, leave, you can reach out to us through our website, on our forum, email, reviews. Even you could answer the questions through reviews. I don't care. So thank you guys so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Selin, do you have any final thoughts?
Honestly, everyone, for their own sake and health and well-being, always check up on yourself. And never forget that you always come first, because I feel like a lot of people do forget that, and it's really important. Mental health is so important, and I feel like it's becoming more and more talked about, which is amazing. So everyone should always just kind of be in touch with their own head and their own mind. I think it's really powerful to have that.
Very inspirational. I really like
so
that. That
much.
was a cute little
It's very
token.
important, and I've learned that, and I feel like a lot of people are slowly learning that too.
Well, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. And as always, I hope you had a stellar time on this really crazy ride today.
Cray cray.
Bye.
Bye.